Hey guys, I wanted to come on here and do like a little update on this case, this unraveling. And I'm going to say it again. This is the last shooting case I'm going to talk about. And the reason why is because every day you have too many Black men showing how they really don't care about their plight in this country. Really, a lot of them are very comfortable with it. They simply complain and mention it as a means of manipulating Black women. And a lot of that went on that panel yesterday. And I'm not saying that there aren't some Black men who care about their plight, but by and large, Black men do not care about their plight, and their actions show that they don't care about their plight. And then they sit up here and talk about people being empathetic, Black women specifically being empathetic to their plight. And it's like, well, how can we be empathetic to your plight when we're watching you not care about your plight? Because the reality of it is there are still Black men all over social media glorifying white women. There are still Black people all over social media defending white people. So how am I supposed to, and how is anybody really supposed to look at your plight and take it seriously when you're praising and worshiping the people who are causing your plight? I think that Black people really need to understand that when there is a contradiction between your actions and your words, nobody is taking you seriously. Nobody's taking you seriously. Now, the thing of it is although there's a ton of new developments in this case, none of them are going to matter because Black men are not going to make them matter. Have anybody heard of any of these wealthy Black celebrities or these Black politicians commenting on this situation or focusing the narrative towards what's really going on? No. Yet I had a bunch of dudes sitting up on a panel yesterday making excuses not to protect Black women as if we can't already see that they're not even protecting themselves. This is how delusional most of these dudes are. But so you have this white female officer that many Black men, the white female, because she represents white women. Understand, she represents white women in this country. White women have been very instrumental in keeping Black men oppressed. They've been very instrumental in keeping Black men oppressed. So the reality of it is that this white woman represents white women who Black men put on a pedestal as their idea mates. Now, how am I, as a Black woman, supposed to take your plight seriously when you're praising not just the women who are causing your plight, but the men also? Like, how long are we going to live in this contradiction and turn a blind eye and act like Black men, by and large, are actually worried and concerned about their plight in society? They're really not. Some of them are, yes, but by and large, they're not, no. Now, we already know we don't need to go over the rhetoric of what Black people in America are facing. We already know Black people in America are facing a lot of systemic racism, and they're also helping. That's just a reality. And there's a lot of Black people, unfortunately, who just do not want to come face to face with the truth of their actions. And that's why we can't do anything about it. I get it. Like I get it. I get it. It's hard to acknowledge that you are wrong. It is hard to acknowledge that you are contributing to the very thing that you complain about. I get it. I get ego. I get all of the psychology of Black people. However, I also understand that you can't change anything if you don't acknowledge it. And if you're not going to be accountable for what you are doing, looking at your actions and looking at your mentality and how that is contributing to what you're going through, you can't change anything. And this goes even on a spiritual level because Black people love to pretend to be spiritual. They love to pretend to be in that Bible. They love to pretend that they're against the Esau of the Bible, yet they sure do be laying up with them though. Not enough to, they don't like them enough to not lay up with them. They don't like them enough to not defend them. They don't like them enough to not attack other Black people in honor of them. Because the reality of it is, it doesn't matter how many Black men are killed by white people. Black people are still going to defend white people because white people are God to them. Me and Phil were talking, and we've come to the conclusion that Black people, by actions, have exchanged their God in favor of white people as a God. These are choices that Black people have made by their actions. Nobody cares about your words. People care about your actions. Talk is cheap. It's about what are you going to do? What are you doing to show that you take your own plight seriously? And quite frankly, Black people are doing nothing. You're showing God, you're showing white people, you're showing everybody that you don't take your situation seriously. It just is what it is. I can't sit up here and lie to people. So when I see this and I say it's the old fear of the scary Black people made me do it defense, and when I show you guys her racist Pinterest, none of it is going to matter. This will be another case of a Black man, innocent Black man. And by the way, let this serve as a reminder to all the foreign Black people who think that they're somehow different. This Black man was from St. Lucia. He is not an American, yet he was still treated like an American Black person. Black people are not in reality enough to really deal with their situation. But it says this issue is front and center in the news right now. Last Thursday, Dallas police officer Amber Geiger, a white woman, shot and killed 26-year-old Botham Jean in his own apartment. Geiger was off duty. We already know that when a shooting occurred, and she lied and said that the door was propped open. Keep in mind, I live in the upscale apartment complexes that are like the ones in Texas that have the fob key, that has the door designed to it. Number one, you cannot have, the door will never be sitting ajar, ever. These doors, you can make them wide open, they're just going to shut. If you open them a little or a lot, they're just going to close. Unless you put something in front of that door to prop it open, there's no possible way that the door is going to be propped open. Now, if that white woman went to her apartment, number one, the apartment wouldn't smell the same. You had to walk up an entire additional flight of stairs. She's not explaining how this man, even if he was a robbery, how would he have gotten to her apartment? These doors and these locking systems are made for extra security. They are computer programmed to your door. She's not even telling, when I walked up to my door, okay? When she walked up to her door, how is it that she didn't realize that she didn't prop her door open? So clearly, if somebody got into her door, this is her fake story, either someone would have had to have a key to her apartment, which would have been maintenance or somebody at her apartment, or she would have had to leave her door open. Though they're the facts. I know the type of door that she has. I just showed my sister. My sister was here. We just did the demonstration with my fob key. Turned red on somebody else's door, lit up green on my door. When I tried to hold my door open, it simply just swung back shut. These are what the door. Bottom line is she's lying. Okay? She didn't mistake his apartment for her own. That's just a reality. It said, in the week since Geiger has been arrested and charged with manslaughter, this occurred only after the Dallas Police Department turned the case over to another law enforcement agency, the Texas Rangers, okay? Now, they're saying her story changed twice. First, she claimed she had put her things down as she struggled with the key to the apartment and was startled when Jean opened the door. Then she claims that the door to the apartment was already partially open and when she saw a large silhouette. Now, the fact that she's saying the door was partially open on its own, that is not possible. It's not possible with these doors. I wish I could show y'all, but somebody else already showed y'all in the video. It is not possible to have these doors partially open unless there is something holding it open, because the door will simply close and it will lock. That is just a reality. I live in the type of apartment. For all I know, the management company that owns this apartment complex could be owning the one in Texas, because they certainly own property in Seattle. Now, it says, then she claimed that the door to the apartment was already partially open, and when she saw a large silhouette in her apartment, she shouted verbal commands, which were ignored, prompting her to fire her service weapon. Who knows the story she'll be telling in a week, but it won't matter. Botham Jean is dead, and the white woman police officer who killed him is trying to make it sound like it was his own fault. And the white media, is doing it with her, and Black men are allowing it. This is why I'm saying people can sit here and say bitter. They can say male bashing. They can say all this that they want to say. But the reality of it is, please point out the lie. Please point out and name how Black men are taking their situation seriously. Geiger has yet to answer how she actually mistook John's apartment for hers, especially given that he lived in an apartment on an entire floor above her. John also had a red doormat outside of, and I'm saying John because his name is spelled John. The French clearly colonized St. Lucia, so therefore you have these Black people walking around with white French names. So Jean is actually pronounced John in French. So his name is Botham John. John also had a red doormat outside of his apartment, and his neighbors are asking questions about how she didn't see it. Okay, now let's look at this. Now, this is when you can tell there's a white person who doesn't really agree with what's going on, because mind you, this is a white woman exposing this. There was also another white woman trying to put information out on this white woman. Now, she said, please notice the bright red mat in front of Bo's door. But she didn't realize she was at the wrong door. Really? And then she said, hashtag really. I am his next door neighbor. I was home Thursday night and I heard everything. I took this photo yesterday. Okay. Now she got a big red mat in front of her door, right? This woman is lying, as all white supremacists do. Now, somebody on here is going to say, where is the unit displayed? So she said to the left, and she showed it lit up 1478. And then she showed the door again, okay? And then another person said, is it always like that? So she said, yes, always, day and night. And then she said, something is not right here. I pray that the family gets justice and that you're doing all right as well. Now, why are Black people still praying when they can't tell you one thing that prayer has accomplished? This person, Miserello, said, this is simply unbelievable. I know it won't change what happened for the family, but I hope she pays. I hope they charge her with murder, or I think this person meant aggravated manslaughter, but simply can't spell. Now, the thing of it is that you can hope all you want to that they're going to charge her or that she's going to pay, but what are Black people doing to make her pay? That's what people don't understand. You're appealing to a system of white supremacy to give punishment to white supremacists. How does that make sense? And where is her recorder on herself confirming that she gave him verbal commands? Kim Barker said, this story is just infuriating. How stupid is this bitch? She is a trained officer. How could she not notice the details pointing to the fact it's not her home? Then she sees the Black man inside in his damn underwear and still thinks he's an intruder. She should rot for murder. One. But she's not going to, because she's been charged with manslaughter. Now, he said, has anyone tried to reach out to you? Reporters, police, etc. And she said, police. Only on the night it occurred. Brief questions, but they did get my info. I have so far talked to reporters from CBS, CNN, The Heavy, the Dallas Morning News, the Dallas Observer, and Fox. Notice how none of them are reporting that, though. None of them are reporting what this Alyssa Kinsey reported, though. None of them are reported. Now, I'm going to send her a message, and I'm going to have Phil send her a message because he has a big platform, and I'm going to have Phil interview her. I'm going to see Phil from a Vice show or interview her. And then we're going to see her story, and I bet you the news then produces it. I'm going to take a picture of this now, and I'm saying Phil because he has a bigger platform than I do. And so I'm going to tell him that he should interview this lady, Alyssa Kinsey, that he should reach out to her. And I'm saying that again because Phil has a bigger platform, so should be more likely to go on his. So I took a picture of that with my phone, and I'm going to send it to him, and I'm going to have him reach out to her for an interview. Now, look, you have another white woman on there who's caping for the murderer. It said, if she gave her original recorded statement, what else are they supposed to go back for? Jamie McClarison, clarification of her account differs from the police officers, and I use the term loosely. I think the correct term should be murderer. Then you have Alyssa Kinsey saying, unfortunately, my statement was not recorded by the officer who questioned me. That's because they're not interested in it. Now, Martin Matthews said, you should make an audio recording or written statement while things are still fresh on your mind. You can keep it secured, but make one. And she said, done. I'm going to have Phil reach out to her. And look, she said, now she said up here, she said around 10 p.m. So she's saying around 10 p.m. the situation happened. I heard one loud sound. And then she said not previous to the shot. Okay. So I don't know who she's responding to, but she's telling you what happened. She said, search my name on Google if you feel the need. I created the account to share my photo video and search for the truth for my neighbor. Now, this is, again, this is a white woman. This is how you will tell when white people are trying to do the right thing. Now, she said the door has been guarded on and off by officers from the DPD. Then the Rangers. No one was there from late Friday night till this afternoon. And now they're the gentlemen from the DA's office out there as I type. They're clearly covering. You can see that there's a cover-up. You can see that there's a cover-up. And they're probably going to silence her. Now, she said, do you have video cameras in your hallway? Stay safe. And she said, actually, I'm not sure, but I don't think so. Ours don't have it either, but you do have it for the property, okay? Now, Omega Hodo said, have you ever saw Mr. John and the murderers together socially? Is it possible this was a personal relationship going wrong? And she said, I have never seen her. Now, Young Tycoon said, I'm really surprised that the news hasn't interviewed you. Does she live directly above or below him? Also, what is the mood amongst the neighbors there now? I think the local government is scared of liability due to officer fatigue, please. She said, I've talked to about 6 different news stations and papers. Now, notice how you haven't heard one thing about what she said was in there, in those papers. Not one thing. Now, let's go to this cop's Pinterest. Now, this is her Pinterest, okay? So they're saying a Pinterest account under the name Geiger1 and the screen name Amber can be found if one searches for Geiger's name on the website. A woman who looks substantially similar to Geiger appears in the account's profile photo. The account features much of what you might expect from a 30-year-old cop. There are boards of life hacks, quotes and inspirations, and images about law enforcement. The woman behind the account is also apparently single, but she is saving ideas for her wedding on a separate board. She just shows she wants to promote her white supremacist beliefs. Okay? Now, each of the board on the account is between 8 months and a year old. Given the circumstances and its content, the law enforcement board is the most interesting, but there are other pins of notes scattered throughout the account's public posts. Many respect the civilians just don't get it attitude that permeates the online spaces in which law enforcement officers gather, like the Rant Police One and pro-police groups on Facebook. Now, she said, if I have to explain, sometimes there's justice, sometimes there's just us. You wouldn't understand. Now, understand that with the juxtaposition of blue and black, who do you think she's referring to? The white police versus the black community. It's really not that hard to get. Then Amber, she comes on here and said, seems pretty clear to me. When the police riot for the death of a brother, they do it with class. So she's mocking black people. Thank an officer today. Sad to say we lost one in our city a few days ago. I wear all black to remind you not to mess with me because I'm already dressed for your funeral. Again, I told you, young or old, male or female, foreign or domestic, they're all the same. Yeah, I got me a gun and a shovel and gloves. If I were you, back the fuck up and get out of my, now, this right here shows you her attitude. So she probably went up there and chose to murder that man because he got in her way. There are references to the thin blue line. There's the thin blue line which runs through the center of darkness. Again, black background, blue and white. Okay? Symbols are everything. So she's basically saying they're the thin blue line that runs through the center of darkness, meaning the center of the Black community. The darkness represents the evil in this world. The thin blue line represents our peacekeepers. So by the police murdering the darkness in the world, which are Black people, they're keeping the peace. The line is representative of the brotherhood, sisterhood of warriors, a few good men and women amongst a sea of darkness. Now, understand, white people are the minority, okay? White people are in the minority. The majority of the people on this planet are dark-skinned people. She's saying there are a few good men and women, meaning these race soldiers, amongst the sea of Black people. The line that stands between good and evil, the barrier that serves those in need and protects them from the evil amongst us. It is this thin, because few dare to stand it, outnumbered but united, a line that will not falter in the wake of the enemy, a line of protection for those in need, courtesy of the police, wife life. Now, if you don't understand what she's saying, you're remedial. This is how white people view you, by and large. This is how white people view the police, by and large. She is talking about praise for the police, that the police, the blue and white police officers in blue, being the thin line which runs through the center of darkness, which is a Black background. You couldn't be more obvious, really. The thin blue line protectors. Incorrect, or at least misleading, statements about President Barack Obama making an appearance too, waiting on Obama to attend a cop's funeral. And no social media page is complete without a couple of minions and complaints about Colin Kaepernick. People are so ungrateful. No one ever thanks me for having the patience not to kill them. Okay? So this was a deranged white woman who hated Black people clearly, felt like they were evil, and that white police officers were the thin blue line of protection from the darkness of Black people. Then the NFL died of colon cancer. This is a white supremacist female, but again, Black men have told me that white women are not holding Black men back. They said that white women are not a part of white supremacy. That's what they've told me. That's what they've told many of you. That's what they've put on social media. Okay? Now you have a white supremacist female who murdered a cop in addition to the other ones who've done it. She's not the first. She won't be the last. Okay? White supremacist female, all on her social media, showing her negative attitude towards Black people, her desire to murder, and what she sees as a population of Black people and white police officers being the thin line of protection between them, because they're getting rid of the evil. But y'all tell me, and you had a group of dudes on there telling me that Black men, that nobody is sympathetic to Black men's plight. Unfortunately, Black men are not even sympathetic to Black men's plight by and large. I'm not saying that there aren't any of them, but by and large. But you guys let me know what you think of this information. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next video.